Hey, good evening, friends and DGens. It is Monday, February 5th, and we're going to take a look at a few different things relative to Bitcoin. We'll also take a look at some of the topics carrying over from the last time I was on stream, talking a little bit about interoperability, parallelization, as well as a few news articles, and last but not least, some exciting oath developments. So let's get down to it relative to the Bitcoin halving. We are 71 days away by current estimates. Let me pull up this screen here for y'all. So as we get closer and closer to that, we're going to see some, I think, real interesting price action. I think the charts are starting to show a little bit, if according to my boy Boogie, that potentially we're looking at a little bit of a dip coming up in the next few weeks. So we'll see how this plays out historically. Per the last show we looked at, there is, generally speaking, a dip before each halving. And Boogie and I are talking about doing a few more co-streams since that one went over really well. We'll take a look at some charts with Boogie again in the coming days. So 71 days. Hope everyone's bags are packed. If not, you still got some opportunity to accumulate. And certainly we'll be looking for some new hot tokens and some different stories as things shape up on that front. So cruising right along. One of the topics I touched upon last time was this need for parallelization. And the scenario here is, and there's a great article I'll end up linking to in the show notes after I post this up, is we have a few different challenges in the blockchain and crypto space, and a lot of it really comes down to speed versus bandwidth. So, looking at some of the different scenarios that we have in front of us, a lot of the chains are basically it's fast serialization. So, for anyone who can remember some of the old processor wars back in this is probably the early 2000s. I think it was the AMD Athlon at the time and the Intel P3 series, and there's this whole race to 1 gigahertz. There was a lot of conversation about effectively work per cycle versus raw speed. And I think we see a little bit of that today in the crypto space. So you could think about how transportation works. It's a great analogy, or like fluid through pipes, but I'm going to go back to the transportation one. You think about we have things like sedans, SUVs, trucks, station wagons, heavy cargo trucks, semis, trailers. Or if you talk about planes, right? We got jet fighters, private jets, propeller planes, crop dusters. What do they all do? They have different optimizations. Some are for pure speed, some are for moving stuff. The reality of it is, if you look at how data and how data storage has evolved over the years, we actually need both. We need certain things that can run flat out like greased batshit, and we need ones that can move a lot of heavy stuff simultaneously. So, as we look at some of these different chains, I think you're going to start to see not just a focus on transaction speed, but how much work can they do per cycle or per unit of processing effectively on that front. And I think we'll also find that over time, different chains will excel in different areas. Obviously, right now, we've got a first mover advantage effectively for Ethereum on that front, but I wonder to what extent they have ongoing technical legacy hurdles that they are working to overcome. So we know we've got EIP 4844 coming up. I think last I looked, they were looking at rolling it out in March to the mainnet. So how are we kind of working around this stuff today? Well, we've got L2s that help out. And how does an L2 work at a really high level? Effectively, it's just going to roll up the data off of the main chain and batch some things together. And I want to recognize there are other advances in L2s and the like. I'm just doing a very high level generalization. I'm sure some viewer or somebody passing through is going to throw a comment and leave me some stuff on that front. And I want to say thanks to the crew for showing up. Zenith, what's going on, my brother? And my man, Rational Optics. So we're coming through. It's all right, Tate, man. I know you were the silent partner on that front. So anyways, coming back around to that talk on like parallelization and the like is... Got my dog Storm here giving me some headbutts on the side. So what we're actually really looking at, so we're talking about speed, so how fast you can get from point A to point B. And then there's bandwidth, right? How much stuff can we maybe ram through that pipeline simultaneously? So you can think about driving on a racetrack versus, a mega highway. And like the reality of it is what we're, I think, going to be most interested when all is said and done is total throughput, which is the actualization. So that combination of speed and bandwidth, what's the actual total recognized, realized cumulative throughput on a given chain? So what are some of the other issues? And I found this great Medium article. Again, it'll be in the show notes a little bit later. Some of the challenges we've actually got a bunch of different effective EVM chains. We've got L2s and L1s. So what are some of the tools that maybe we have today? And this is also informed by my working career, working in certain large data transactions in healthcare, where you can start to tie all this stuff together and give the end user a more seamless experience on that front. So again, we'll see some different optimizations over time right now. And somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. Last I looked, Ethereum is generally serial transactions, and they've made some improvements in serialization, but there's still some challenges when it comes to parallelization of transactions. And it'll be interesting to see how ultimately they are going to handle that. Again, thinking about things, moving in things in parallel, different things in simultaneous fashions, is think about going back to my earlier CPU analogy. Before it was one processor just running things as fast as you could, and eventually we started hitting some performance ceilings as with respect to how fast you could process data in sequence. Now, mobile phones, computers, you name it, everything is multi-core these days. Everything has some ability to run things in parallel. Anyway, that's my quick little stance on that one. And so along those lines, some of the stuff I'm keeping my eyes peeled, open and trying to pay attention to is Polygon with this aggregated blockchain. We touched a little bit on it last time. Again, the aggregation layer here should be coming in February. As soon as I confirm the release, I am going to be playing with it, and I'll likely do a stream just outlining some stuff. All right, so let's get down to some news in the crypto space here. I know we got a lot of friends and degens who are passing through looking for some different things. I don't know if I'm wicked smart, man. I got too many nerdy hobbies, brother. That's all it is. Too many nerdy hobbies, and I do a lot of this shit for work day to day. So appreciate it, though. Appreciate it. Cool. So what do you got going on out in the news side of things? Well, here's one for you. Terraform Labs former CFO extradited from Montenegro to South Korea. That dude's taking a big L. So for those who are around for the Luna chart crash, I don't know, personally, short of a direct rugging, I haven't seen any crashes quite like that. Was mighty impressive. So this guy got tagged and bagged in Montenegro and being extradited to South Korea. What did they get him on? Well, they initially snagged him on traveling, attempting to use forged documents. Now he's got to get bounced back to South Korea. He is facing lifelong imprisonment. That's a giant L. As far as Do Kwon, I believe, is still in Montenegro awaiting extradition and some additional rulings. Obviously, everyone wants a piece of Do Kwon right now. So for those who remember the whole collapse, Celsius collapse, FTX collapse, Terra Luna collapse, a lot of crazy stuff happened during that run in relatively short order. Hopefully some people are made whole. Well, it'll be really interesting to see how South Korea is going to handle that one. All right, next up, Shrapnel. So I know some folks have been talking about this one, either through some of the other, let's say, relationships some of us have through the Crypto Mindset course, or just looking at some different tokens and opportunities. So here's what's super cool on this front. You can potentially have early access to Shrapnel on the Epic Game Store. However, there is a slight catch. I believe this early access version is what they're calling STX1. It's only available to people who purchased one of the game's extraction pack access keys. So I think they're giving you some limited windows of time. It's like 3 days of opportunity to play, up to 8 hours per day. I did not happen to buy one of those packs. Maybe I should have looked at getting them. Maybe next time. We'll see. I am going to keeping my eyes open on and looking forward to Shrapnel on that one. I do like some shooters. Sometimes they're a great way to blow off some steam and, get your violent video game fix in when you're coming home from dealing with the day at work on that front. All right, next up, what do we got going on here? Solana is working to make it easier to launch crypto games with some built-in NFT shops. So I know the running gag for a long time was, hey, can Solana stay stable? There was a lot of conversation about faked volume on some of their exchanges. Was it controlled by FTX and SAM or some other VC firms? Well, it seems like it's emerging from some of those very lengthy shadows, and they've had a lot of game development on that front. One of the things they're looking to do is support NFTs and make it a lot easier to launch crypto games. And I think for any of us who have been in the space, and you know how it goes, you try to talk to normies and the like, or folks who aren't in the crypto space. Okay, yeah, they've heard Bitcoin on the news. They hear it being fudded. Maybe they've heard of Ethereum. Highly unlikely. A lot of folks have, well, I guess folks have heard of some like the meme coins like Dogecoin and Shiba and stuff like that. But gaming is going to be, I think, a really important onboarding tool to bring folks into the crypto space. So in this particular case, they got a beta rollout with integration for Tensor for bringing some of these NFTs forward. So as far as NFTs and gaming, those two things go hand in hand. People have been playing stuff like World of Warcraft, Diablo, you name it, for years. And they would go and pay like Chinese gold farmers on eBay or something like that to grind out some materials and gear for them, only to swap that out later for the assets they wanted in game. Well, now potentially you have the ability to resell those assets in either game specific or L2. If we look at stuff like IMX, or who knows what kind of future scenarios it'll be for moving game NFTs around. But that stuff's pretty exciting. Glad to see that tools are improving to bring more users into the space, because that's how we grow and ultimately pump our bags. All right. Let's go see what's going on in chat. I see there's a decent chat here going on today with respect to some whiskey and some likes. I am not a whiskey guy. I am a vodka guy. I am scheduled to join the DGen Roundtable gang this Wednesday. It is definitely clear liquors for me. Generally like Russian stuff. Russian Standard's phenomenal. You can find Russian Standard Gold. That is unquestionably my all-time favorite vodka. Somewhat difficult to come by up around here. Doesn't come around that often. And unfortunately, New Hampshire basically booted Russian vodkas from most of the state liquor stores. Thankfully, the last time I came across it, I bought every single bottle in the store. They all belong to me. No, you cannot have it. So let's see. We got a comment here from Tate talking about Knob Creek, but it's got some other favorites as far as some different whiskeys and the like. So I'm going to have to defer to Tate and some of the other, let's say, more amber liquor, whiskey drinker types on that one. All right. Let's see what else we got going on. So one of the narratives I've been watching as far as emerging more recently is a lot of airdrop hunters going on. It's not personally, you best believe I'm cornering that vodka market up here. Let me go pull that comment up on that front. I think I got like 3 different bottles of 3 different vodkas in my freezer right now. Skip the food side of things. Just keep the vodka chilled. So anyway, narratives. Yeah. Airdrops for different tokens. I'm not personally necessarily an airdrop hunter. I mean, I'm going to directly contradict myself in the next 5 to 10 minutes on that one. I'm somewhat of a selective airdrop hunter is maybe the better way of saying that. So I am keeping my eyes peeled as far as watching people trying to run around different chains and snag some of these airdrops. I wouldn't be surprised to see emerging of narratives, gaming airdrops, gaming NFT airdrops, gaming token airdrops. Again, for those of you who have been around for a minute or folks who are new to the space, one of the best practices is to have some separate wallets set up. So you've got your main bags, you got maybe your sort of pseudo daily interaction bags, and then you've got your condom wallets or your AIDS wallets, just in case you accidentally interact with a site, or maybe you're going to airdrop hunt on some stuff and you don't want to expose any of your really important bags to bad contracts or nefarious malicious actors on that front. So in this particular case, they're talking a bit about this game, Heroes of Mavia airdrop coming, some other stuff coming on the horizon, and we'll keep our eyes and ears open on that. And you can see airdrop season in full swing as far as Decrypt is mentioning through here. For those not familiar with airdrops, it's basically you wake up one day and surprise. You can think about like the old cartoons where the stork would drop the baby or something like that. If you're interacting with some of these different chains, moving tokens around, maybe you're buying and trading stuff, providing liquidity, maybe you purchased an NFT or you've interacted with a game, you may wake up one day and say, oh, there's this new thing in my wallet. What is this? First and foremost, be really careful about touching stuff you didn't directly put there. Make sure you do your own research, do a lot of homework, find out what is it, where did it come from, anyone else reporting it as a scam. a lot of times when I see stuff that looks like an airdrop to me, I let it sit for a good long while. I don't interact with it. I kind of let the news shake out as far as what it may be or what it may be doing. Anyway, let's keep our eyes and ears open for some gaming NFT and token airdrops in the weeks and months to come. So the big thing I wanted to get to tonight is talking a little bit more about Oath. For some folks who have tuned into some of my appearances over the last few weeks, you've heard me talking about Oath. That is a solution and product from the Byte Masons team. One of the things they're doing with the Oath Foundation is licensing out the Byte Masons technology stack. They might even be changing their name. I need to look into that more, but I'll just call it the Byte Masons tech stack for some different solutions. The way I think of this is almost like it is a franchise model where they go and they partner up with different projects and say, hey, we'll help you get off the ground maybe 10 times faster than you would previously. You get to use our tech. In return, we need some level of kickback or revenue sharing or licensing or airdrops or what have you. So I've been reposting a few things from the Byte Masons and some of their solutions. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Mr. Angry Twinkie. You can also catch me on Telegram if you're a Telegram user on that front, and toss me a message or tag me in one of the chats. So as far as one of actually the very first Oath Foundation chapter that is slated to launch this week. In fact, it launches on Wednesday, and it'll be Aurelius Finance tied in with Cleopatra Dex, and they're producing some interest-free loans on that solution. As I recall, it is a 0.5% initiation fee, but there's no interest on the loan. I know there are different solutions on different chains that are offering, let's say, similar types of solutions and offerings. But given this is the Byte Masons team and they've got a really solid track record of coming up with killer products, I'm really looking forward to see what they do on that front. Also on the Discord, some of the different Discord chats between Byte Masons and the Aurelius Finance teams, they have indicated that there will be an airdrop of some of the Aurelius Finance tokens if you have staked your Oath in time. They have not announced if the snapshot has occurred or when it is occurring. Thankfully, I got my staked Oath in bonded Oath staked a little while ago, so I'd like to think I qualified for that. And I see a wild BLX has appeared. What's going on, BLX? Good to see you, man. Anyway, so on the Oath front, go follow the Oath Foundation on Twitter. You can see that here is a short roster of some of the Aurelius launch partners, of which the Oath Foundation happens to be one. Cleopatra Dex, Mantle, which is an L2. They're a modularized L2, which is to say they break up different layers of the transaction. I'm going to assume that culminates in better throughput and lower gas fees. I do need to spend some time really digging into the Mantle ecosystem, but that looks pretty exciting. The Itchy Foundation, which I'm not familiar with them from a liquidity management perspective, Lido and Frax Finance as well for different types of staked ETH. And they're saying it's going to give them the best possible yield opportunities. So truth be told, I was really here for the Oath side of things based on my prior positive experience using Reaper and just being really impressed with Beebus and some of the interviews, and having had the opportunity through the Crypto Mindset course to have observed Beebus as a guest speaker on that front. So really exciting stuff on that front. Again, they are launching this Wednesday. Stay tuned for that front. All right, let's talk a little bit about how we get this staked bonded Oath. So for some of the folks who have been around for a minute or two, you might have Oath from the Phantom side of things. Shout out to my man Crypto Boogie, who gave me the heads up some while ago, like, hey, most of the liquidity has moved off of Phantom. It looks like it all wound up on Optimism. Now, there's a few different ways you can get your Oath from Phantom over to Optimism. I generally recommend Squid Router. I've had good experiences on that front. It's an Axelar-based bridge. You can go to V2 on that. Just select Phantom, Oath chain, Oath on the Phantom chain, and then you want Oath on Optimism, and it makes the bridge easy peasy lemon squeezy on that front. All right. So once you bridge it over to the Optimism network, you're actually going to want to go to Beethoven X, or so op.beats.fi up here, and make sure you're on the Optimism network, so you could still operate on the Phantom network if you want. Cool. All right. So in order to do this, you're going to need some ETH or wrapped ETH in your wallet on the Optimism network, as well as the corresponding Optimism-based Oath. Click over to invest. In my case, you can see bonded oath token is right up top. So this is making my life a lot easier. I'm going to click into that. And it's got some information, some stats over here. Bear with me 1 second. So I'm not really here for the APR. I honestly don't give a shit. I'm really here for what appears to be for future bonded staked oath will be the opportunity to receive additional airdrops and revenues. It looks like right now Oath is on track to be a revenue, let's say revenue accruing through partnerships slash revenue generating token on that front. So I'm going to go ahead and invest on this front. It's giving me a few different options for how I want to do my investment. I'm going to do a proportional investment. It is an 80-20 pool. Since Optimism is a balancer fork for those, Beethoven is a balancer fork. So 80-20 pools have lower risk of impermanent loss. They tend to trace the underlying assets a little more tightly compared to some of the 50-50 pools. I think it's like a sub 5% impermanent loss scenario where it can be significantly higher on 50-50 pools. I'm sure some LP expert will weigh in the near future. So keep your eyes peeled on that one. Maybe we'll do a future deep dive into some LP type scenarios. Anyway, I'm going to do a proportional investment on this front. And I could choose like, how much of my oath I want to stake or whatever. This is just a small demo bag. So we're going to YOLO send it all 100 tokens for a grand investment of 435. Lambo, here I come. All right. So I got to approve my batch relayer on that front. It's going to give me a pop-up, ask me to approve some stuff. Confirm that. Hopefully everything's going to be running nice and smoothly this evening. Hopefully network's not too congested. I will approve my Oath V2 on this wallet. Just waiting for that transaction to confirm. I see we've got Zenith over here trying to see how I can get into that Shrapnel early access. I don't know if there was like a cutoff date for getting some of those packs or not. And we got Zenith thinking about just aping, going full degen here, liquid hex to another stake coming out January 1st, 2025. I thought about that too, man. It's like short-term versus long-term gains and bigger pays better and all that stuff. My personal strategy right now is I'm keeping overall very little liquid hex on the Pulse chain network. I'm doing a lot of 30-day stakes just in case there's a movement I want to capitalize upon, but I've been thinking about stretching it out a little more. Anyway, tells me it's ready to invest. I'm going to get a whopping 0.0002 cents on my potential weekly yield off of Beats, Beats.fi on that front. We confirm that out. Thinking. So yeah, my thought there was just, given how the market's shaping up in my estimation, 30 days didn't seem too bad. I was actually contemplating further splitting that into 4 30-day stakes. So I always got something coming out every week. I'm playing with a few ideas. Obviously, the downside is those stake sizes start to reduce if I do something like that. All right. So I should have my bonded oath generated as a result of that. Next stop is you want to go over to Ethos Reserve. And this is another Byte Mason solution or Oath Foundation solution, whatever I guess the most appropriate name is. Let me go dark mode on that so my retinas aren't permanently scarred. And what I need to do is jump over to Ethos dashboard. There's some updated T's and C's I got slapped with earlier that I didn't get previously. I don't know if something changed in the US or like was giving me some issues earlier today saying I was blocked and then I was magically unblocked on an IP level. What I'm really looking at down here is the staking pool. So I'm going to dump my bonded oath into this staking pool and earn up to 6% APR. Last I looked at it, dropped down to like 1%. So I'm not really playing for the APR or APY on this. Again, my thought here is I really want the revenues and the airdrops that I will be eligible for by staking my bonded oath in this front. And if you don't know how to get to the bonded oath creation type solution, if you come to Ethos Reserve and head down here, you get the link that'll kick you right back to the optimism side of Beethoven X. So I'm going to deposit in the staking pool. No money, Mike. Given my experience so far, it's been a few weeks since I've done this on my main bag. It seems really easy to actually unstake and get my interest out. So I just aped my whole oath bag on my main bag in here and just letting it sit. I don't know if this is going to be a hot runner this cycle, but my first off, oath is not a majority position for me. So let's say 30 to 40% of my bag is probably sitting in ETH with a little bit of BTC. And then I've got a substantial portion of my bag in Pulse Chain, and whatever's left, I've kind of got like sub tokens. So let's hypothetically say, I got like 10 grand in the Phantom network. I might throw 1 to 2 grand in some of the alternate tokens on the Phantom network. Rinse repeat on the Pulse Chain side, rinse repeat on the Optimism side. So my thought here is generally for the kind of more speculative stuff I like to do, roughly, for any math nerds here, this is like a recursive Pareto principle, so 80-20 rule. Let's say I've got 80% of my bag in the L1, 20% of my bag will be in alt tokens against that L1 or in really speculative stuff, but I actually take 20% of that 20% to put it in the ultra risky or much more speculative stuff. So it mathematically breaks down to 80-16-4 is how I generally structure my stuff. And my brother from another mother, Agent J, has appeared. What's going on, my brother? All right. So outside of that, I'm going to hop over here. Let's send all 16.414 and some change. So I go ahead and approve that. And it's going to work its magic. And I see some other friends and DGens are doing the number crunching in the background. And so we've got 100,000 hex staked for 30 days will yield 1.6 thousand hex on the P hex side of things. Thanks for the intel, Zenith. And I confirm my stake. And everything looks successful on that front. So you get rewarded in Earn. That is their stable coin. It's I believe, an over collateralized stable coin on that front. And there are some redemption rewards in the form of wrap BTC, ETH, and staked ETH or stater ETH. I can't remember. I always get those mixed up on those ones. And yeah, other than that, I just kind of let that sit. I'll go back to my dashboard and see what's up. So the staking pool, I'm assuming there's a lot of people coming in due to the Aurelius launch and people hoping to catch that Aurelius airdrop qualification on that front. Again, this to me is immaterial. What I really want is future airdrops for my personal usages on that front. All right. So that is the run through on how to get your stuff over to Optimism, create that bonded oath token, which you then hop over to Ethos and stake it over here in Ethos, and then ultimately just let it rack up some rewards. And so if you got some oath and it's just kind of idling there, might as well put it to work so you can make some additional gains or some compounding gains on that and potentially qualify for some airdrops and some other cool shit for projects that are yet to launch on this one. Again, my stance and interpretation of some of the business activities I've seen them doing is they're embracing what is effectively a franchise model on that front. So I look forward to seeing what sort of other projects and solutions they spin up on that front. All right. Thanks for tuning in, friends and DGens. So that's the quick run through on some of the oath stuff. We took a look at some gaming news, some other crypto news. We talked a little bit about parallel movement across chains and some of the tools that we will see coming in the months and years ahead. I appreciate everyone tuning in. If you catch us on the replay, all my show notes and links will be down there. Thanks a bunch. We'll see you next time.